Hey, what's up guys? It's Crazy Wing from Guided Hacking. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a DLL injector using Visual Basic. This is going to be my second time recording this video because I went all the way through the whole entire injector and my mic was muted. So I'm going to try and be quick this time just because I don't have enough time to do this all over again. I need to be places, so I'm going to be going over this really quickly, so sorry if I don't cover some of the information. So basically, before I start, I need to give some shoutouts to Sosha and Silk for their source code for their DLL injector using Visual Basic, because I'm not a Visual Basic programmer. I'm primarily C++ programmer and C# programmer, so I've made about one Visual Basic program in my whole entire life. So thanks to them for letting me use some of their source, and yeah, so credit to them for sure. And then if you guys are here because of my DLL injector, I need to slow down. My DLL injector is coded in C# because that's where I'm better. I actually know what I'm doing there instead of Visual Basic. But this is based on a request by Austin Coder. He said he wanted a Visual Basic injector, so that's why I'm doing this. And the Visual Basic section in, so hopefully get some more content released in this section. So we're going to make a new project, a new Visual Basic Windows Form application. Call this Crazy Winks DLL Injection Tutorial. That's a long name. And we're going to start off with our basic design of a text box, 3 labels. That would be 4. Only 3. Again, I'm going to be going through this pretty quick. I got places I need to go, and I already recorded this, so I'm kind of irritated, but, so label, okay, 4 buttons, that's 5, button 1, that's button 3, button 2, button 3, button 4 is down here, list box, checkbox, 2 radio buttons, and I think that's all. If I could find them, there we go. 2 radio buttons. So let's just, let's just name all these now. So first up we have our label. This is going to be process. Probably going to need to move this over. Process. Button 1 is going to be browse. Button 2 is going to be clear. Clear. Button 2 will be clear all. Checkbox 1 will be close after injection. Radio button 1 will be manual injection. Radio button 2 will be automatic injection. Move it over a little bit. Label 2 is going to be status. And label 3 is going to be the actual status that we write to in our program, so we're just going to do a dash just to let us know what's there. Button 4 is going to be inject. And we should be good to go. Now before we start doing anything, we need to come up here to project, Crazy Winks, it's not going to be yours, your project name, and then properties, it's the very last one. Properties, Alt F7, come down here to settings. We're going to make a new string and integer. The string is going to be inject, leave it string, scope is user. This is going to be close, and this is going to be an integer, and user value is going to be 0. Control S to save that. Come back here. You're going to get a file. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be a link to the forum post where this was intended, and if you're on Guided Hacking forums, it's going to be in the attachments. It's just going to be this text file. I'm not going to be explaining this because I don't have enough time to. It's just basically setting up our write process memory, it's just setting up our functions, our open process functions, memory allocation functions, and all that great stuff. So we're going to come up here to public class and paste it. Excuse me. And then we are going to add a little bit more before we start anything else. Okay, I'm going to go through this code fast, and I'm not really going to explain much. You can Google the stuff if you need to know what it does. You can post a reply, and I'll reply later telling you what something does. I just don't have time to explain it all right now. So we're going to set up a private function inject by value PID integer by value DLL location as a string as a boolean. And then we're going to say dim h process as integer equals open process PID. Hold on, I just misspelled integer. No, I didn't. What else did I mess up? Open. Wait, hold on. Sorry. By value PID as integer. That's my bad. As integer. Open process at each one f0 fff. That's 10 fff. Comma 1 comma PID. This just copies the access value. If h process equals 0, then return. Oh my god, return false. This just checks that we've managed to obtain a handle, otherwise we can't continue. Now we're going to say dim DLL bytes as byte equals system.text.encoding.ascii.getBytes DLL location. Dim allocation address as integer equals virtual allocation exception h process 0 DLL bytes or DLL byte dot length. Let's see, this would be what is this? Allocation type is h1000 h4, and then if allocation. Alright, sorry if there's a cut right there, guys. My mic keeps cutting out, so I keep going further, and then I have to backtrack, so I'm going to start over where I was. So, if allocate address equals nothing, then return false. This is just saying that if the memory allocation failed, then we quit. Now we're going to say dim kernel mod as integer equals get module handle kernel32.dll dim load lib address as equals get process address for kernel mod load library A. All this does is basically finds the address of load library in our kernel, and then if kernel mod equals 0 or else load lib address equals 0, then return false. Right process memory h process allocated address DLL bytes dot length, and then 0. And this is just going to write the DLL location as bytes to the process memory in the location that we specify. So dim lib thread as integer equals creates remote thread h process 0, 0, load lib address allocate address 0, 0. This is just going to call the load library function in the target process. Okay, done with that little bit. So now we're going to say if libthread equals 0, then we're going to return false. This just says it couldn't create the thread, so we're going to quit. Else wait for single object libthread, comma 5,000. That's 5,000 is in milliseconds, so it's gonna wait 5,000 seconds. Or sorry, wait 5 seconds, which is 5,000 milliseconds. Create handle lib thread, and that's the end of our if statement. And then we're gonna close our handle h process. And then we're going to say label3.text equals DLL successfully injected. That's just next to our status. Then we're going to say if checkbox1.checked equals true, then me.close, because checkbox1 is the close after injection. What's the problem here? Oh, we need to return true, and we need to end our function. That's the problem. End our function. Okay, that does it for the really complicated sort of stuff. Now we're going to make 2 timers. Timer, and open file dialog. And we are going to do the open file dialog first, since it's pretty straightforward. So we're going to say dim file name as string equals open file dialog 1 dot file name dot substring open file dialog 1 dot file name dot last index of slash. That's just going to set it to our current directory, and then dim DLL file name as a string equals file name dot replace. And we're going to replace that slash with a blank. And then we're going to say listbox1 dot items dot add DLL file name, and then DLLs dot add DLL file name open file dialog 1 dot file name. That's just going to add the file to our list box so they can see what DLLs they've selected. Okay, now we're going to move on to our timer. Timer 1 needs to be enabled, and we're going to leave timer 2 disabled. Timer 1 is, we're going to say if listbox1.items.count is greater than 0, then dim target process as, or probably should do capitals, target process as process equals process.get processes by name textbox1.text, and this is just getting the process name by the text that the user inputs into textbox1. And then if target process.length equals 0, then label3, this is our status label, .text equals waiting for plus textbox1.text plus .exe. And then else dim our process ID as integer equals process.get processes by name textbox1.text 0.id. And we're going to stop our first timer, and then we're going to start our second. Or, sorry, not start, we're going to stop the second one as well, because that's injecting. And then here's going to be our injection code. So we're going to say for each injection as key value pair of string, comma string, in DLLs. Going to inject process ID inject dot value. Oh, whoops, we already have a next, and if, yeah, that looks right to me. Okay, now we're going to do our second timer. This one's a bit more in depth, if I remember. Hold on. Okay, if textbox1.text equals nothing, then label3.text equals waiting for process to be set, since they haven't set a process, and then timer1.stop else if listbox1.items.count equals 0, then label3.text equals waiting for DLL path. That just means they haven't selected a DLL. Again, timer1.stop, and then else dim target process as process equals process.get processes by name textbox1.text. If target process.length equals 0, then label3.text equals waiting. This is the same thing that we just did, waiting for textbox1.text plus.exe. And another else, else if radio button 1, or this should be, wait a minute, yeah, if radio button 2.checked equals true, then timer1.start. Saying that if automatic is checked, then timer1.start. Yeah, so that's going to do it for our second timer, I believe. Yeah, so now we're just going to double click on our form because we're going to do our form load. So we're going to say if my.settings.inject equals auto. This is what we set up earlier in our settings. Then radio button 1.checked equals true. Else if my.settings.inject equals manual, then radio button, oh hold on, I got those mixed up, sorry, equals true. This should be radio button 2, radio button 2.checked, because that's auto. Okay, else radio button 2.checked equals true, meaning that we're automatically going to have automatic injection checked. So, and if my.settings.close equals 1, then radio button 2.checked equals true. Else radio button 2.checked equals false. That should do it for our form load. Now we can start to work on our buttons. The buttons, we've done the complicated part. Now the buttons are pretty straightforward. So we're going to start with our browse button. This one's going to be super simple. We're just going to open file dialog 1. Open file dialog 1 dot filter. Yeah, we're just going to add a filter to it so we can only see DLL files so that they can't select anything else. .dll, and then open file dialog 1.show dialog. That'll do it for our browse button. Clear button now. This one should be pretty straightforward too. This will be if listbox1.selected index is greater than or equal to 0, then open file dialog 1.reset DLLs.remove listbox1.selected item for I as integer equals listbox1.selected items.count -1 to 0 step -1. Dim I2 as integer equals I plus 2. Items.remove listbox1.selected items I. Just making sure everything's there. Yeah, looks good. Okay. This will be our clear all. This one will be really simple. We'll just say listbox1.items.clear and DLLs.clear. Now we're going to do our close after injection. So open this up. now we're going to say if checkbox 1.checked equals true, then my.settings. Oh, and we're using our settings again that we set up earlier. My.settings dot close equals 0. And that's going to be the end of our if. And then we're going to say my.settings.save, save our settings for next time. My.settings.reload. Okay, now we're going to do our radio buttons. We're going to start with manual injection, I believe. That's what I selected. Manual. Yeah, okay. My.settings.inject equals manual. My.settings.save. My.settings.reload. And then we're going to say button4.enabled equals true. And then timer1.stop. And we're going to have button 4 disabled if automatic injection is checked, because they don't need that button, obviously, and we don't want them messing anything up. So, yeah, now we're going to do our automatic injection radio. Now, so my.settings.inject, and if you remember, we set this up in our form load for manual and auto. My.settings.save, my.settings.reload, button4.enabled equals false, then timer1.start. That should do it for that. And this should be our very last thing here. This will complete our injector, which we'll probably have some errors to work through because I suck. But this should be the last thing. It's a little bit long. So listbox1.items .count is greater than 0. Then if textbox1.text, then dim target process as process equals process.get processes by name. You probably remember doing this. We're doing it again because we did this for automatic injection, and now we're doing it for the manual. So if target process dot length equals 0, then message box textbox1 dot text plus dot exe is not running, and we'll say message box style dot critical comma error, and then else say timer1.stop, and dim process ID as integer equals process.get processes by name. Again, textbox1. I guess we could have just copied this. Oh well. 0.id. And that ends our if. And we'll say else again. Message box, you haven't specified a process. Message box style dot critical comma error. That'll be the end of that if, and then another else. Message box, you need to select a DLL file to inject. Message box style dot critical again, and error. And that should do it. That should be our injector. We're gonna run it real quick, just make sure we don't have any errors, which I probably do. Nope. Okay. Now we're gonna test it out. Hold on. Okay, I've brought my Slender up here, so we're gonna test this by putting in our process Slender. Browse will open our file dialog. Come here to desktop, select our DLL. It'll say DLL successfully injected because we have it set to automatic injection by default unless they click manual before. but yeah. And then play, and you'll see that it has injected successfully. So that's basically how to make a basic DLL injector in Visual Basic. Like I said, I'm not very good in Visual Basic, so big shout out to the people that helped me with this, with some of their source. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you stuck around this long, congratulations. This ended up being a lot longer than I thought it would be, and this is my second time through recording, so I've wasted about 2 hours total with this tutorial. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.